Every comment is, this is the most epic thing ever.
Friggin' awesome.
What'd you think about the music? The music was sensational. What'd you think about the cinematography? The best looking movie I've ever seen. What is happening there, Reject Nation? Greg and Jod here today. Gear it up for the Batman some more. I love how we've been getting some news trickling in about this movie. We're gonna watch from 3C Films today. The Batman test screening, reactions, plus new details. If you haven't subscribed to 3C Films, please do yourself a favor. Do it today. Link in the description box and pinned comment for his channel. Post regularly. Anywho, let's see what the response is for the Batman so far.
Alfred, prepare the Batmobile. I'm going to Target.
Where are they?
Good choice.
Hey, Batman fans, thanks
Oh,
for
shit, that was hilarious.
The old Batpad needed to be charged for this pretty interesting news we just got. What we're going to be talking about today,
That was
guys,
so funny,
is
man.
the
That
Batman
was so
has
funny.
had its first screening at
all.
Warner Brothers, and we have here our first bit of reactions from a lucky someone who got to see the movie and broke their NDA that they had with Warner Brothers of, I promise I won't tell a single soul. And this is all non-spoilers. I wouldn't be making a video about this if it was spoiler-filled, so I don't think this will ruin
I'd watch the spoiler one.
or take away any surprises from the
I would
movie.
too.
But I'm gonna need your guys' opinions down below. What do you think of this first reaction for the Batman? Reminder, this is only one person's opinion. After the movie comes out, everybody can have a completely different opinion, but I don't know, some of the stuff he's saying really lines up with what I would love this Batman movie to be. The source of how we're finding this out, everybody is questioning, but I'm gonna tell you guys straight up, this guy, although is not a scooper, is not a journalist or someone in the industry, goes by the username at Blu-ray Angel, is one of the most positive, heartwarming people in the Batman or movie
He had a
community.
great
so
reaction.
Positive and heartwarming.
Yeah, that's
the fact
it.
that
Yeah.
even Matt
Great
Reeves
reaction.
himself, the director of the Batman, retweeted his reaction to the trailer when it came out, just because the guy was that ecstatic for it. He's the one that's claiming that he knows someone who was at the screening and was happy to tell him a couple little tidbits of information, and then he was happy enough to share it with us. So some people might be like, who the heck is this guy? But trust me when I say this guy is such a nice, positive person in the community, I don't see why he would lie about this to just bring up some false hope for fans. All right, but without further ado,
I'm so glad you said that, Chris.
Found out about with the movie.
That's so
The
nice.
overall round-off quote to how to describe the Batman, he says, is the Batman movie is a horror movie.
A horror
very
movie,
graphic,
yes.
very dark, very scary. Paul Dano is effing crazy, so effing scary, I love every second.
I've always thought the Batman totally lends itself to, if not like a horror movie, but at least a psychological thriller, like something that feels suspenseful and horror-esque, horror adjacent. So to come out and say that this is a horror movie directly, I'm sure that has to at least be the vibe of the dark and menacing undertones. I think we said that in the trailer reaction that we first, and we might have that. We got some horror movie vibes from it. Oh, definitely. So to hear that is very satisfying, and to just read this one thing about Paul Dano right away, saying how scary he is. Like, if there's anyone who I can believe is scary as the Riddler, it's Paul Dano.
Absolutely.
I've never actually seen an interview with that guy. Anything he does, he just gives off creepy vibes all the time, always, no matter how, even if it's like a sincere, tender character. I'm like, I don't know, man, you still kind of creep me out. I don't know what it is about you.
I'd be afraid to approach Paul Dano in real life.
But I love hearing this already, this one little quote.
The Riddler in this movie is going to be putting their victims in jigsaw-like scenarios where if they want to make it out alive, they have to complete some sort of task. Specifically, like we see there's a guy who has a bomb implanted on him, and he has to drive through what seems to be a funeral and hand a message to the Batman. I think that's the stuff he's talking about, where it feels like a horror movie. It's also very graphic.
Very
Just going
Zodiac-like,
back
yes.
and thinking about the fact that someone is literally going to get their face duct taped up, and either that's how they die from suffocation, or that's just what he does after the body's dead. That seems like some very graphic
sadistic
stuff,
yeah.
And it's finally a side of Batman we haven't seen all that much about. Because we saw in the trailer just how badly he beat up one of the thugs that'll be part of this movie, and at CinemaCon they revealed a little bit more of footage, and Robert Pattinson, along with that footage, was saying that Batman is basically taking out his anger on criminals, makes it feel a little personal. So it's not just gonna be the Riddler scaring us up. I think this Batman will be frightening.
Actually, I like what you're saying about some of the fear might be coming from, but the whole point of Batman is to invoke fear upon criminals too. We don't really get that vibe. Sometimes you get movies that like touch on that, and remember even like with Batman Begins when Scarecrow gets hit with his own toxin and the way he's seeing Batman, or when you shift to the perspective of the criminals, how they're afraid of him. The idea of watching a Batman who's so on edge that you're kind of worried about him crossing the line or going too far does create this atmosphere of tension that could be a lot more suspenseful for your film.
Oh yeah, I would love that idea of riding a lot of the tension off of just how erratic Batman is coming across and how unhinged in his anger and rage that he is. There's already so much horror in the Rogues Gallery, and it makes perfect sense to match that with horror coming from Bruce.
Absolutely.
It's all about, where his soul hangs.
It's upside down like a bat.
The cut they saw of the Batman is 3 hours long. A 3-hour-long Batman movie. That is as much Batman as I would
love it to be 3 hours.
Also
do it.
lets me know
Love
the
it.
story in this movie has to be pretty meaty to fill up that 3-hour length. Now, keep in mind,
True.
this is an early rough cut of the movie. The purpose of these test screenings is so that they can figure out what works in the movie, what doesn't work, what they
Get
need to
Joss
cut away,
Whedon in there.
what maybe they need to change. So it could be
Lighten
very
it up.
likely that
More quips.
It might be 10, 15 minutes below that. But still, if the movie is nearing 3 hours, that's a good sign that plenty of Batman is headed our way.
If there's one thing I'm getting from the fact that it's 3 hours long, they're probably going to trim it down. But if the audience response is as strong as just this one guy who we're honing in on right now, I can only imagine that perhaps we could get an extended cut when the Blu-ray does come around, which would be pretty sweet.
Or a 2 hour and 55-minute theatrical cut.
Their thoughts on Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. I have a million things to say about Catwoman. She's my favorite. Definitely my favorite Catwoman. And I feel like that says a lot because we've had tons of live-action Catwomans in the Batman.
Don't you dare
history,
disrespect
all the way
my
back
Halle
to the
Berry.
60s Batman series, to Michael Keaton's Batman, to then Christian Bale's Batman, and now we're getting Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman. I'm really curious to see what differentiates her from all the other Catwomans of the past. Are they going to play up that whole love relationship like they love to do in Batman movies with Catwoman and Batman, or will this be different where it is more of a you're kind of in my way and I don't care if you're a girl, or extremely attractive meow?
Knowing the fact that Matt Reeves is really borrowing a lot thematically and character depiction-wise from Batman Year One, to me, from the comics that I've read, the portrayal of Catwoman, while brief in Batman Year One, is one of the most impressionable ones. That's a take and iteration that has always stuck with me. So I can imagine that if they are using Zoe Kravitz and to riff off of that version from Batman Year One, I could see why she'd be so impactful. And I don't get the sense to be playing up a love story, like maybe like sexual tension love story. I'm not sure they would do it in this one, but either way, it's like if it's anything like what it is in Frank Miller's Batman Year One, then I'm sure it'd be great to bring to the big screen because there hasn't been any interpretation that mirrors what was there in Batman Year One.
A couple of thoughts on Robert Pattinson himself as Batman. They say their thoughts on Robert Pattinson's Batman voice. His voice was
The
perfect
Batman
in
voice.
my opinion. We only just got taste of Robert Pattinson's voice in
vengeance.
that Batman trailer, but I think it was the drop of the mic that a lot of people had who were doubting Robert Pattinson and still saw him as the Twilight Boy because they weren't seeing all his other new movies, that the second he beat up a thug and then said the words vengeance, people were like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy can be Batman,
Yep.
and he's gonna be a great Batman. There's been a lot of controversy amongst Batman fans about this new Batmobile, and short and sweet, their thoughts on the Robert Pattinson Batmobile. Holy effing that effing Slade.
I love these
I'm
tweets.
guessing this guy's maybe on the younger side here.
Slay! Slay! Slay!
I was one when they showed us the first
Slay.
look at the Batmobile that I loved it, not only because I am a guy who enjoys muscle cars, but I also yearn back to the days where the Batmobile was literally just a car. But from recent
Yes.
Batman movies, they kind of revolutionized that and either
tanks.
turned it into a tank or this just unbelievably big old heaping car, to then scaling it back down to a put-together car by Robert Pattinson himself. At least that's the details we've been told about his Bruce Wayne, that he basically makes all his tech instead of getting it from his company or someone like a Lucius Fox. I want to see this thing in action, drive around the streets of
Yes.
Gotham,
Does
and
look
how
badass.
it's more useful to him than a giant tank that barely fits on the road. Two more tidbits of details that he let us know. One is if there's a setup to a sequel at the end. He says here, I just asked if the Batman sets up for a sequel. Here's what they said. Yes, def a sequel, that's the moment I genuinely felt like they're gonna start a whole collection of Rob Pat movies and circle through different villains, maybe. That's the only way you do a Batman trilogy. And you know what? I say trilogy, but this person here is saying a whole collection of Batman movies. Warner Brothers is at a point where they know, hey, Batman just tends to make a lot of money. If we make solo Batman movies and do it the right way, people will show up, they'll make bank. So instead of just planning for a trilogy and then waiting 3-4 years and then rebooting it with whatever actor is hot then, why not see how much we can squeeze out of one actor, Hugh Jackman style, and make him Batman for as long as possible?
Well, yeah, we've heard Matt Reeves say that they're at least aiming for a trilogy, that there's a very concise story that they want to tell. I imagine that they could go longer considering how early on in the Batman story this is starting. But it doesn't surprise me at all when they're talking about a rogues gallery being set up, because the impression that we've been getting is that some of the villains are already like inhabited within this world that they're lived in. It's not like cut away and set up the origin of Penguin. Let's cut away and set up the origin of Catwoman. Like Riddler seems like he's already doing Riddler things. You already got Oswald doing Oswald things. You got Selena Kyle doing stuff. So I imagine that that's kind of the whole array of what's going on in Gotham, is that a lot of them are already planted and lived in versus, you know, let's cut away to set up an origin tale. Especially because a lot of this really feels like it's simultaneously borrowing from like Batman The Long Halloween, which had a similar vibe. We'll see, but I mean, it's no surprise at all they're set for a sequel. What I do love is this guy's tweets, how every comment is, this is the most epic thing ever.
Friggin' awesome.
What'd you think about the music? The music was sensational. What'd you think about the cinematography? The best looking movie I've ever seen.
The Batmobile, the best picture car.
So to have it say here that they do set up for a sequel and it feels like it'll be a collection of villains, that gets me so excited, because there's so many that we haven't seen done or even reinvented. Because like, I got a kick out of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze back in the day, but a serious version of that character with the origin similar to the animated series, that has Oscar potential in my opinion. Maybe even some lesser known background Batman characters that we never really thought about could be given the spotlight. But here for their final statement on this Batman movie, they say there's a scene at the end that literally had everyone screaming. Everyone gasped like it was a big no way for everyone. I don't give a F about Batman or DC. I even clenched onto a knee and was shook. The biggest mic drop. Just hearing that makes me so upset that this movie is
gonna kill Alfred or something
months away. The fact that he mentions the Batman movie
must be for the setup
towards the end of the film is just this big hypertension.
Maybe he murders the Riddler.
Screaming at, clenching at their knees, all accumulating to a big old mic drop, either from the Batman or whatever other villain is on screen.
Whoever this guy is hyping the hell out of it.
Yeah, seriously.
Crafting this movie and setting it all up. As far as what it could be, man, I have no idea. Whether this is connected to the Riddler and what was happening, whether maybe it's a secret villain that was hidden from all the marketing thus far.
Joker!
There's rumors the Joker somehow makes an appearance in this movie, whether we want to believe that or not. But I feel like not every big moment in Batman's history has to involve the Joker. But that is just some of the early reactions we have to Robert Pattinson's Batman. Come October, we're going to be getting a lot more Batman. They're going to be releasing some new stuff at DC Fandome, maybe a poster finally. Who knows if they'll release a trailer or maybe even a clip of the film. But next year, man, watching the Batman, this is what people thought about it. I want to know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.
Take care, buddy. Fantastic breakdown. Shouts out to Blu-ray Angel for all that he put together there too, man. Follow Blu-ray Angel on Twitter as well. He's just a delightful personality. I don't think he follows me, but whatever, Blu-ray Angel. I'm not taking it personal. I'm taking it very personal. I'm pretty upset. I shouldn't put this on camera. Maybe I should have the video. No, I'm hoping you watch the video and you follow me.
Because then when you do, you'll have a reaction as big and enthusiastic as his.
What? Oh my god, this is the greatest follow in history!
This is better than blue check mark!
Alright guys, thanks so much for being here. Subscribe to 3C Films. We'll catch you guys soon.